and gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. So at the interest of sounding redundant, I just want to remind you all that this episode is also available on the Ringer Reality TV YouTube channel. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button so you get every episode as soon as it's released. I am obviously not in studio today, so I am not wearing pants. I'm not in studio, unfortunately, because my next guest was not able to attend in studio. And that may or may not be because she spent yesterday castrating cows. So I hope that was kind of like a little bit of a giveaway as to who my next guest is. Again,
Wait, why would that be a giveaway? Wait, that's what I do. I just cut balls.
Because you're living on a farm now. I figured everyone knew that you're living on a farm now. So I am. You know, unless you're a veterinarian neutering animals. You know what? Actually, it could have been in your defense, it could have been Laurel as well because she is a veterinarian.
Speaking of the devil.
But it's not. She's already given it away.
Yep.
I was trying to keep it a secret, but you know what? We couldn't do it for much longer. She just cannot wait to pull out some tarot cards and read our future. So without further ado, Schromm.com, Mrs. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Well, I'm just so excited to see you. This is so fun. Okay, let's start here because when we first got to Vietnam, I get off the plane. You know, it's kind of a long travel to get to immigration. We're all kind of stressed out. We're just seeing each other for the first time. And then I get to immigration and I have no passport. And it was like, oh shit. So I had to run back, get on the bus, figure out this passport situation. And turns out I turn around and Johnny Bananas is right behind me. And I'm like, oh, you're coming to support me? This is so sweet. You're coming to hang out with me so that you make sure I don't get left behind in Vietnam. And you're like, yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing. Turns out we both did the exact same thing and left our passport on the airport. But then we waited. We had a moment and we pulled cards. We started off our season with a card pool.
Well, but to almost like it's like a repeat of history. We had the same issue today because we were supposed to actually start recording 29 minutes ago or 19 minutes ago. I'm sorry. But I'm sitting here freaking out. I'm like, oh shit, dude, I haven't updated Chrome. And it's taken me forever. You need a goddamn degree in quantum physics these days to figure out how to work Google Chrome. So as I'm trying to update Google Chrome, I'm texting my producer. I'm like, yo, Sasha, just let Emily know I'm coming. I get a text from Emily. Dude, I'm updating Google Chrome. She's like, all these steps. I'm like, oh, it's like, once again, here we are stuck in this, this purgatory. Because yes, we got off the flight. We're in friggin' Vietnam. Emily's sitting there, and I'm like, the worst for people who don't travel a lot. The absolute worst feeling is getting somewhere and not being able to find your passport. And we just landed. We're in Vietnam. I'm like, holy fuck, what the hell is going to happen if we can't find our passports? So, we left our passports on the plane.
It's so funny that you told me you also couldn't update Google Chrome because then it turned into a competition and I knew I was going to beat you to the podcast because I was like, oh, I'm going to figure this shit out faster than bananas. And I did.
Well, and you did. Is that what you do in your daily life? Because I do that. I turn everything into a competition against usually I'm competing against myself and it can be the dumbest stuff like, oh my God, I need to open the refrigerator door and take out as many items as I can as the refrigerator door is shutting because I can't reopen it. I have to take them out while it's shutting. I get the last one out before the refrigerator door shuts. I do that all the time.
Yes. And like right now, my current one is how do I feed the horses? Like how fast can I get to they'll see me coming. So they know they're like, oh, this is our woman. She's about to feed us. So they flock, but then they can get so intense. And I'm still learning how to train them. And one of them is a stallion and he gets crazy with food. So I now have this like internal competition of like how to set out the food and make them wait and ask for the food. So yes, everything in life is a competition. As long as it is against self, right? Because that's where it gets tricky is if you're constantly comparing with other.
You just said you competed against me for downloading Chrome.
You're right. I'm a hypocrite.
You know what the other one I always do is, and tell me if you do this. If I ever have a timer set, I don't use a microwave, but I do it on my stove all the time. If I have a timer set, I love to wait until there's like 1 second left, and then I like to hit cancel, and then I pretend like I just defused the bomb and saved mankind.
Why did we do that? I do the exact same thing. That's so funny.
That's why. I mean, because we're competitors, man. We like to compete even against ourselves. Oh, and before you pull the cards, because again, this is what Emily and I did while we were sitting in Vietnam, passportless, wondering whether or not. Here's the other thing: our passports weren't together. I left mine in the back of my seat, but I ended up switching seats. And here's why I thought I wasn't going to get my passport back, because I pissed off the Vietnamese flight attendants, because we actually flew to, I believe, Hong Kong, and then we flew Hong Kong to Vietnam. And on the flight over, it took forever to take off. So I had to pee really bad. So once we took off, we were like, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes up. I'm like, all right, this is enough time. I get up to use the bathroom, and the lady's still sitting in her jump seat. And I go to use the bathroom. She goes, you need to sit down. And I'm like, no, I need to pee. And she's like, no, you need to sit down. And she grabs the door and holds the door open. So then I start to shut the door. Then she grabs my wrist and tries to yank me out of the bathroom. And then she goes, fine, you stay in there. And then she slams the door, and now I'm stuck in the bathroom.
It's so funny when all this happened, like, you were so upset about it. And I just love that you still feel upset about it.
Well, here's the thing. I was like, oh my God, if this is the lady that found my passport, the one that just locked me in the bathroom, she's throwing it in the trash. I'm not getting it back.
This is true. Do you remember the card that you got when we pulled cards?
I think it was really bad.
It was.
Okay, what was it? First, explain to us what these cards are and what these are. Like, are they like what these symbolize?
Yeah. So, we get there, we're waiting a long time, and we don't know. But I'm truthfully, Johnny, as long as I'm hanging out with you, I'm good. I have so much fun with you. Like, not to peacock you too much, but I genuinely.
Me. I know I'm a good time.
You are, but I talked about, my fascination with astrology and human design. You and I have one of the strongest friendship channels that I've ever seen. Like, it's so fun to be around you, which is probably why we're similar in very different ways.
You have ESPN and I have ESPN too.
I don't really get that because I don't watch a lot of sports, but I like it. Okay, that's good. So having this card moment with you was so fun because I felt like I haven't done this in 14 years, right? This challenge, I just said yes to a flagship. I have no idea what I actually said yes to. I just knew that I was able to. The door was open. I closed the gym. I had space to come back to doing one of these massive shows. And I was only coming to win, right? Like, how competitive I am. You know how much of a challenger I am. So it was so fun to have like kind of a moment with you of just like, what are we here for? But you were asking, I think, about a relationship, and you got a card. It was one of my moon decks. So there's tarot and then there's oracle. Oracle is what we'll pull today, where you can just kind of get a message from the universe. So you can ask a question, or you could say like, what do I want to know today? And that's what we did. But you maybe asked about an actual relationship, and it was nothing will come of the situation. It was just like such a hard no of like,
it was just a nothing.
Like, damn.
It wasn't even like here's an answer, like a yes or no. It's like figure it out yourself, motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, thanks for these, Emily. No, I think it was, I don't know if it was about a specific relationship. I think it was more about a path that I was currently on, because I had just had a pretty bad falling out with a business associate in my life. Won't get into that. And there were some other, things going on. There was some blockages in my life that I needed to remove. But it's kind of like a tick. Like, ticks don't go easy. Once they're burrowed in there, they ain't coming easy, That's
a big analogy, because then we're talking Lyme disease. That can be bad.
And you know what? Sometimes these ticks in your life can leave you with diseases.
Yes.
So
I will say really quickly.
It was a very nonchalant answer.
Yeah. So I want to pull a little oracle. This is a nature deck that I love, but really quickly, because we're on the topic of relationship. What was up with that cutaway when they showed you talking about your relationship? Did you notice this?
No.
Okay. On the episode, and you had a moment talking about you dating and relationship and who's into you.
What, in the house?
Yeah. Do you remember that part in the episode?
Who wasn't?
Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
Sort of, not really. I remember, here's the thing. I remember me basically, it was when they cut to Michelle and Devin making out while Olivia and Theo were on the thing. And then basically Devin starts to say why it's not a good idea to get into relationships. And then it cut to me reiterating that fact. I've made that point a couple of times this season.
No. This was someone saying, well, who do you have an eye on? And why aren't you into anybody in the house? And,
CT.
Then,
yes.
And then they cut away to me. And I'm like, what is this about? Because they were implying that I was eyes on Bananas. So no offense, Bananas. You know, I always
You were keeping your eye on me, but you were keeping your eye on me to not get into any trouble and steering yourselves into relationships. And guess who was trying to do the same thing for you? Well, you sailed your ship right into the rocks.
Okay, we'll get into that. Let me pull you a card. So if you have a moment, or is there anything you want me to ask specifically?
Anything specifically? Let me try and think. Do I have to say this out loud? Because is it like a birthday wish? If I say it out loud, it's not going to come true?
You can, if it's personal, you can keep it as long as you just send that my way so that I actually, it's easier if I know it, but it's okay.
Gotcha. Is it like, it's like before you eat some mushroom chocolates, you want to have you want to have a message and a spiritual journey you want to go on?
Truthfully, exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay. You want to know? Okay. I had a very long, in-depth conversation with a really close friend of mine named Steve LaBelle. He's a huge hip hop mogul, and we were sitting down a while ago. And you know what he said, and it resonated with me. He's like, "Dude, I look back on my life," and he goes, "I wish I would have spent more time with my family and spending time with family and less time focusing on all my work." And that really hit home and resonated with me because I find myself doing the same thing. I find myself so busy. I'm watching my nieces, my nephews grow up. I'm watching my parents grow older. I'm missing big, milestones in their lives. And I'm like, oh, but I justify it with, well, I'm so busy doing all this other stuff. So I've really made a focus recently on putting my family and my close relationship obligations first, and then fitting my work in around there. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's, I guess,
that's perfect.
What I want to focus on, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And I also, not to just, I'm overstepping, and you can edit this out if you'd like, but
right.
you do totally, I've heard it before in an interview. And of course, we know the game of reality TV and just making sure that you keep your momentum going. But I want you to know you were just you're above and beyond. You have surpassed. You've done the work. No matter what in your life, you're going to just have so many opportunities come to you because that's who you are. People who haven't met you in person, you're a very wonderful aura to be around. That's why I enjoy being around you so much. And I don't say that about everybody, right? I'm pretty picky about my auras.
You are.
Yep. And so just know, it's okay. The momentum will never stop for you. I hope you really trust that because you're just such an awesome human. I love it.
Someone once called me a manifestor generator.
That's you. That's you.
That's you called me that.
That's me. I called you. Okay, so here we go. So what's the message for Johnny as he
Then right after that, she called me a beluga whale. I'm like, Emily, how are you going to compliment me and then insult me right after? I know I have a big head, but geez, you got to go with the beluga whale?
Did you see that actually made the episode when I'm talking to Brad? It's B is for beluga. Yeah. Just so you know, if you don't know, take my bird quiz. It's a really fun way to get to know how weird I am.
Actually, but also how weird the people are taking it. Definitely take the bird quiz, people.
It's cool. You learn something. I mean, we both do well with music in our hands,
I did.
It's not wrong. Okay, wait, I got to focus. Here we go.
I've learned that this podcast is no longer about the challenge.
That's great. Good, because I had enough of it. Fuck. All right,
people are like, what did we tune into? We just tuned into Hippie Hour with Bananas and Emily. It's yes, you did, and now you're our captive audience. So,
welcome to the best day of your life.
Yes, the best hour.
Okay, wait. Here we go. Phew. Okay, we're gonna just pull a card. I have to focus though. What does Johnny need with this change? Whoa. Oh my gosh. This is great. Okay, 2 cards.
Okay.
So the first one is Lake, which says stillness. And this is, I think, very true for you because you're never still. So this is about really.
I am not ever still. It's wild. My mind is never at rest or at peace.
Which is why I said that you are more than welcome to come to my retreat, my challenge retreat, as long as you meditate with me, because we have a lake and I would love to teach you how to meditate.
Okay, I'm in. However, as long as one of the eliminations, or if there's an elimination or if there's a penalty for anything, does not involve castration, because I texted Emily about, like I said, coming in person, and she's like, oh, I can't make it down to LA. I'm learning how to castrate cows. I'm like, okay, well.
We will get to this card reading in a second, but how amazing is this? I was just like, after I got eliminated sooner than I thought. Obviously, I thought I would make it to the final. I've never not made it to the final. And then I end up in my van kind of like, wow, I have an extra 4 weeks. Didn't know what am I going to do? I did go to Cambodia first. That was amazing. Yep. I went to this amazing meditation retreat in Cambodia, saw all the temples. I felt like Tomb Raider. I went to the Tomb Raider temples. But then I get back to California, and then turns out I just am helping cook for a retreat. And then all of a sudden, I'm on a 700-acre ranch. There's 3 horses that need help being taken care of. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to ride these horses and take care of these cows. Now we're going to have a cow being birthed tomorrow.
Take care of them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, cut their balls off.
Well, because this is a fun fact you'll appreciate. For every one male cow needs 25 women. So if there's more, if you get to more,
sounds like male bananas as well. I have more in common with cows than I ever knew.
That's crazy. So they start fighting each other. So that we have Watusi cows. So they're cows that our horns are like bigger than longhorns. They're gorgeous, but they will fight. They'll fight to death. And so we had one baby that I already saved 2 weeks ago because it got heat stroke, and it's a boy. And if I don't learn how to band them and castrate them ethically, then they will eventually grow up and start fighting each other to death.
So who decides which ones get castrated? Like, because the one that doesn't, obviously, is, dude, that's like the luckiest guy in the herd. So who is it that's like, you know what, these 19, their balls are going, but this one, we're letting this one. It's like a temperamental thing.
No, all boys have to. It's like honestly, like Wonder Woman.
Duck, Goose.
No, Wonder Woman, she lives on that island like Amazonia, and then they if a boy is born, they give it away. Like that's what we have to do. If a boy is born, you have to castrate it. There's enough it's crazy. So they have no chance. Wow. So bless them, but we have to, we have to be on that.
You know what? I am glad. I don't want to die and be reincarnated as a cow on that ranch.
It's kind of interesting. That's kind of a crazy story. I'm having a really hard time focusing on this card pool, but
it's so fun. This is like stream of consciousness. This episode is going to be called Stream of Consciousness with Emily, because everything we talk about just diverts into a different path. How did we start off talking about the challenge, and now we're talking about cow balls?
We will always come full circle. We always do. I will say, there was, right before I got here, that's why it was so interesting. There was a horse that passed away right before I arrived. And that's what caused the owner to want to leave. So it was just this opening of like, you never know, even though I was really disappointed, and we were definitely going to talk about, the elimination and everything that happened. It worked out okay, because all of a sudden I'm on this beautiful ranch and I'm learning how to work with animals, big animals. And I've always wanted to do that. Like, what are the chances I get to be around this energy?
Everything happens for a reason, Emily. I say that all the time. One of my favorite lines from a song is every mushroom cloud has a silver lining. Before we get off castration, if I don't know if you're on dating apps or whatever, I would leave that out of your profile. Okay, because you're gonna get a lot of swipe lefts. I'm telling you, if I'm going through and I see girls like, oh, I castrate cows from them, I'd be like, nope, don't want to piss this one off.
But also, I go both ways, so it would maybe be like the best bonus.
Oh, you swipe right and left?
No, we're like all four. Love is love, Johnny.
Love is love, man. You know what? Just let Emily be Emily, dude.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Do you think Nani was mad about what I said?
You know what? No, I think if anything, she should be flattered, because that's like, yo, you want people to find your partner attractive. And it's not like you're saying, hey, Nani, I'm coming for your girl. may the best woman win. It was more like, yo, if you weren't in the picture, I'm not going to lie. I look at Casey times and I'm like, she's got like that swag. She's got whatever that it thing is. And like, there's something about Casey that she's just, she's got that pizzazz. I think in French, they call it je ne sais quoi.
Oh, je ne sais quoi. And she let her hair down and je ne sais quoi. It was amazing. I was like, what? Like, just such a goddess. Okay. So you need to be still, Johnny. Okay. This is what I will always try to get you to do is stillness is where all your creativity comes from. So you got 2 cards, Lake and Dragonfly. And I love Dragonfly because if you ever see a dragonfly, it's never a coincidence. There's such a good omen to see. It's all about creative expression. And so for you who has so much creative potential and so much energy for the things that really resonate for you, whether it's your podcast or the shows or whatever it is that you want to do, it's like you can only truly access that when you're still. So just remember that, like finding stillness in your life.
You know when else I found my creativity, believe it or not? When I procrastinate. And I've always said this about myself. Yo, I swear to God, I could have like a project that I need to get involved. It could be Emily, anything, any creative project. It could be preparing for my podcast, writing my intro, getting ready. If I try and do it 1, 2, 3 days before, can't do it. If I do it right before I need to, it's like my creative juices just burst out. And I'm like, oh my, I write so fast. My hand can't keep up with my mind. And I'm like, why couldn't I be this creative 2 days ago or 3 days ago? And then I would have more time. But it's like, no, I'm conditioned to wait till the last second. And then almost like my body goes into panic survival mode. And that's what makes me creative.
I'm going to flip that over because I'm the exact same way. But honestly, when we do it in advance, which probably we've tried in the past, we're always going to change it. And it's never going to be true to us because when we actually have the energy for it, it is exactly what needs to come out. And people don't understand that. That's why it's so genius when we live, like, I want everyone to have that type of ability to be like, oh, I have energy for this. This means I need to do it versus I should be doing it. Like this is in the health world, the nutrition world, the fitness world, this obligatory should word. If we eliminated that completely, how much more relaxed and fun the world would be. Like that's a significant thing. So I actually think for you, that's your genius because I relate to that. It's like, no, when I have energy for it is when I do it because if I force it, it's not actually true to me. And it's all what I think, not what my body wants. It's a really fascinating thing.
And you actually, it's more efficient. You actually save time by procrastinating too, because a project that you might have spent 2-3 hours on, little bits here and there, you could just bang it all out in 30 minutes, dude. And you're like, I just saved 2.5 hours of my life. Now, was I a little more stressed out? Maybe. But that's my life in general. I'm stressed out I like to consider it like, I don't know, do a couple shows a year. I squeeze all my stress into like 16 weeks, then I could chill for the rest of the time.
Well, it's also just an ability. One, you can trust yourself because then if you know you're always going to impress yourself, like how fun is it to work so well under pressure that when you're finished, you're like, damn, that was pretty good. Like that's a good feeling. So I will say it happened right before this call because I just pitched Peel. So, I talked to your mom, which I'm obsessed with your mom. I want to podcast your mom. She's so amazing. I have so many things that we talked about with you, but I feel like I've already over complimented you so far in this podcast. So I'll save those for later.
Keep them coming, yo. I'm a words of affirmation girly. Keep them coming.
Oh, that's me too. Oh my gosh, I'm totally that. Well, I feel like it's just an interesting thing because I'm launching this new business that I've told you about. It's this connecting growers and buyers, and 40% of birds have died because of farming, right? So that fact alone.
But I thought it was windmills.
No, well, farming can be a whole thing, but just
it's not avian bird flu.
No, well, avian bird flu exists because of calves. So large scale agriculture of all these chickens put in one little tiny place. It's horrible. It's so inhumane. Yeah. So we need to change that. And so that's what I've been doing. But I did a pitch, long story. I did a pitch right before this and it was the best pitch I've ever given. And I had no prep time. And I was like, oh yes, we're on it today. It's just, you just got to follow your genius. That's it. I'm for it.
And the creative juices are still flowing, which is why we are just straight stream of consciousness right now. If I didn't know
let's
better,
come back.
Em, if I didn't know better, I think that you and I were in Colorado eating chocolate mushrooms at my friend Jack's cabin for the first time ever, at least for me. And then we went to dinner, and I looked at everyone's faces, and it was the trippiest experience. Emily got me actually to microdose on mushrooms for the first time, and I'm like, I hope I'm in good hands here. And I remember that dinner experience was the strangest experience ever. And I remember the one takeaway from it is I felt like I could read people's auras. I remember everyone that walked by, I could just tell this person's unhappy, this person's happy, this person's confident, this person is not. And I'm just like, whoa, dude. Yeah, it was wild.
Whoa. Well, there's so much to that story. I don't want to just casually say I was the initiator of mushroom chocolates. Like, I'm not just handing them out and popping them like candy. Like, I mean, some people do that, but that's not how. I just want to say I started microdosing because this is a little deep and a little bit of a detour.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would say about
on this podcast?
Just enjoy the ride. This is great. 7 years ago, I had such horrible PMS before my cycle. And and this is why I have a lot of empathy for people that are on the show that kind of administer some bipolar tendencies, is because it's way more hormonal than we realize. And I think if we understood, like, wow, there's like more shit happening. Like, I can't even be that mad at anything that has happened because we all have some deep shit, you know? So for me, that was 7 years ago, really, really bad, depressed, like just so out of my mind. And I found microdosing as a way to support that. And it really, really healed that support. So I do feel like it's such a magic plant, but I also think it's been a little overused where people are just like partying with it all the time.
Yes.
Which can become really ungrounding because it is an air, water energy. And so people feel really like out in the clouds and they don't have a way to anchor in. So as long as you had me there, I can anchor you in, but you also have to really be conscious of that. So don't just like take it nonchalantly. Like, you have to have that intention and really understand what the medicine's doing and just ask for support. There's so many people that are really able to support you in that.
The other problem now is because it's become so trendy, it used to be a lot harder to find, which meant what you were taking, I think, was a lot more like legit. Now they're just like mass producing it. And I think there's probably a lot of the stuff that just has like chemicals in it. It's not like true, organically grown, humanely sourced mushrooms. So,
which is why I created joinpeel.com, truthfully, because if we can't figure out, so right now in our farming world, organic certifications can cost up to $13,000 for a farm or grower, which is insanity. Nobody can afford that, right?
Well, I'm a grower, not a shower.
What?
Oh, I thought we were talking about farming.
I don't even know what that means, but so trying to be able to really make sure people, let's say that let's not say psilocybin mushrooms. Let's just say you went and foraged and you got 5 pounds of mushrooms that you foraged safely in the woods and you want to put it on a platform. You can put it on my AgTech platform and get it to consumers and we would make sure that's verified. So it's just I'm really excited, Johnny. And I will say that's my biggest thing with Laurel and like the disappointment that I have and like how this all went down. And even the elimination, like, I'm not going to play victim. Like, it is what it is. The challenge spit me out. But I was so excited to get this money in order to bring this to life, right? And like, it's just what it is. It's just what it is.
Again, had your path been different, Emily, had things worked out differently this season, maybe you would not be in the place that you're at right now. Once again, that's what I'm saying. Everything happens for a reason. So we're obviously going to get into the Laurel elimination. I mean, I cannot believe, they should redo a show, like a home improvement building show, and just have Tina do the entire thing, and they're just going to give her a hammer and nails. It's like, hey, Tina, rebuild the Sistine Chapel. Here's a hammer and nails. You got this. This skyscraper needs to be demolished. Here's a hammer and nails. Take it down. Single-handedly. All right, before we get into that, we're going to rewind because, like you said, you said 15 years or 16-year hiatus? 10 year?
14.
14-year hiatus. Now, Champ Stars, we did that. Doesn't really count.
It should count. I wish for my paycheck it would have counted.
We're not going to get into that because, Emily really did her boy dirty on that one, but whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Oh, my gosh.
So
we
won
so
we won
so much money for our charities. Why are we even
We did.
complaining?
I am not.
Okay, good.
I'm a petty bitch. All right. So coming back after a 14-year layoff, because let's be real, all-stars, champ stars, they are just a whole different animal than the flagship.
Truly.
So what did you think about the representation on your era's team? And why do you think the representation of the guys was so much more, authentic than the female representation?
Being
facetious.
I love that you are leading every question, but I will just take it my own way, which is I will say this. I really feel like production dropped the ball in one way besides well, there's a few, but let's say that TJ at the beginning didn't say that there was an individual winner. We would have actually felt as if it was era versus era. Even if they shifted and did a plot twist in the middle, whatever it could have been up to this point. I just feel like that's what I wish more than anything, because our era was so amazing. We had
fucking TJ.
Well, we know it's not TJ, but
what
let's
a dick,
just
dude.
No, to be able to work with my team in the team that we had built, it was just amazing. But that's not what it was. In no way is this Battle of the Eras. That's what's so deceiving about this name. This is not Battle of the Eras. This is just it was, which was a missed opportunity, because I think that could have been really cool. But obviously, it turned out a different way. I remember the moment where you were so upset, I think, about the format, because we didn't quite understand it. And then you saw the guys on the team and you were so happy.
Well, I saw the girls and I'm like, fuck yeah. Because generally on a team, you're only as strong as your slowest, your weakest players. And, once I saw how stacked the girls were, I was like, A, we have the strongest females here. Yeah. B, we have the not so strongest males here, which means if we have to go against our own era, I am fine going against these. Now, if it would have sucked, if they were like, you got to go against girls, then I would have been screwed. But
true.
I was like, this is a perfect scenario. And everyone's looking at me like, how did you luck out? I mean, era one's looking around at who they have to compete against, 3, 4. And I'm just sitting there like, all right, well, I didn't realize that this was going to be actually the best case scenario for me, but it was.
It really was. And I know, I just have to say this because I know how you feel about the 2 decisions that happened in the house, right? Number 1, making out with Brad. We know how we felt about that. Number 2, when I volunteered, I know how you felt about that too. It was so don't do this. This is so stupid. But I just want to state my case really quickly.
Okay, for which we got to take these. We got to take these point by point. And here's the thing. Nothing but love for Brad. I love him to death. However, I just feel like the 2 of you are from such opposite ends of the universe. Here's what I told you in the house, and this is how I truly feel. I feel like you are at Buddha level of spirituality. You truly have found the you definitely have found that, awakening. I feel like Brad is at entry level spirituality. And I feel like there's a big chasm or disconnect in between there. And I just kind of saw that from the beginning. And I was like, Emily, I don't know if there's a tree you want to bark up. And you did anyways. And,
that's honestly, there's some, I would say 10 moments that will forever be imprinted in my life of Vietnam, me in the house. And that was one of them where
the look on my face.
I said, Johnny, I think I'm going to make out with Brad. And it was the best, because I just knew. I was like, I have to follow my heart and my whims. This is what I'm here for. But I also, you're never wrong in the way you see things. From you've been on this so long, you see people for really their truth. It's really unique. But okay, let's just go to why I volunteered, because we don't need to go into that.
Let's just skip over that. Let's just skip right over that, because I will say though, it was funny. And again, not to go back to this, but yes, I walk in one night, Emily's sitting on the bed, and I'm always expecting something kind of just out of fucking left field to come out of your mouth. But this was way out of left field. And I'm sitting there and she just goes, Johnny, I think I want to make out with Brad. And I was like, whoa, all right. And I remember just this look, just because I was so shocked. I was like, that is not what I was expecting you to say. And then you guys obviously had your you guys had your, your connection, the soapy shower Sundays, if you want to call them that. And then I could kind of then see this little rift starting to form. They obviously didn't really highlight it a whole lot in the show, but I felt like your two levels were way off, where it was like, I feel like he was in it for one thing and you wanted more than he was willing to give. And that's a very difficult thing to, rectify when you're in this environment 24 hours a day. And I kind of saw the tension begin to build. And I remember you walking into the room one day and I was talking with all the Era One guys. We were all sitting there and you come walking in and you made some statement about like, yeah, you should see, or you should see what happens when they don't get what they want. And you like shot this look over at Brad. And I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Here we go. Well, it was the divide, I think the simplest divide, and I understand everyone's reasoning, but the simplest divide was this overcomplication of like, do you volunteer or not? And how ultimately I volunteered. So it put Brad in a situation where he felt like he had to justify why he wouldn't volunteer. And then it became a conflict point, which it was so stupid because this is simple. If I look at who I am as a competitor and a challenger, like I don't want to win a challenge unless I've gone to battle, right? That's worse than defeat. I don't want to just slide through. And I knew I was going to have to join the sand and I wanted to. Like, why else did I train so fucking hard? And why else have I waited this long? Like so far, these eliminations, including the Anissa Jenny elimination, was dope. I'm like, if this is what I'm going to get given, like I am all day for this. Like that would have been so fun to have that one or any of them really, but that's okay. I will say we just get the universe had a plan. But think of it this way for people who are like, why did you do that? Why did you volunteer? It's just so simple. The first person who volunteered was Aviv. Mm-hmm. Cara had already been in the sand and Laurel just got put as target. So she couldn't even be an option. So it's just like, it felt so much like, it's time. Just do it. And when you feel that in the moment, you do it. And I just didn't have the curveball awareness that somebody on my team would want to throw it in. And of course you would. Like I just didn't expect that at that early in the game.
I didn't either. Now, in fairness, in your defense, though, Aviv, yes, nominated herself, but she didn't know what she was nominating herself for. That's different than once we understood the game. Now it's like, all right, I am nominating myself as target. When they nominated themselves at first, they didn't know why they were doing that. However, I will say this though, Emily, like, dude, and I know you've been away for a while, and I totally understand that feeling of like, yo, I'm here to compete. I want to show that I can compete. I want to show that, I'm the best can compete with the best, hang with the best. The problem is, and this is why the challenge is such a tricky game, is you never fucking know what that elimination is going to be. If you knew what it was and you were confident in your abilities, but it could be something that you've never done before that you're not good at and the other person is. It could be, math or trivia against Kyland. And then it's like, holy shit, dude, I shouldn't have nominated myself for that.
Right.
Which is why, and I saw you on my team. I saw you, and I didn't realize the issues that Laurel had with you or vice versa. But I saw the two of you as like I was like, yo, this is like such a great situation because I love both these girls to death. I trust both these girls. And by you nominating yourself, I'm like, damn, she just unnecessarily, in my view. And again, you have your own journey and you're playing your own game, but I'm like, damn, she just unnecessarily put herself in harm's way. And then, like you said, some other things came to fruition that were, unforeseen, and it just kind of was just a bad combo.
Right. And I remember being like, you saw it. I'm like, I have to be at peace with this. Like, universe, please give me something. If I'm supposed to be here, make it obvious. Like, make it just a Hallbrow 2.0. And one of those things where I really do feel like, again, everything happened for a reason. But I also would love your opinion on seeing Laurel throw that challenge as much as she did. What did you think of that? Because I think I was still so shocked by it. And now I get it, like that was a smart move. But as someone who saw both sides.
Here's the thing. I just said this in the last podcast I did with Jordan. Throwing challenges is, in my opinion, 100%, legitimate, because especially if it's a strategic move that is going to help your game and help the people that you're working with, right? It would be hypocritical of me to sit here and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that she tried to throw a challenge when her and I worked together and did that on World of Worlds 2. The difference was we did it together. Her and I felt like came into this game. We won the first challenge together. We then had to, make the joint decision to throw in Kara. We then were both targeted together. So I felt like mine and Laurel's game, for better or for worse, was going to be completely intertwined. So I just assume that it's like, hey, and again, this is my assumption because we never had a conversation about it. Emily is 100% like in my corner. She's got me. I've got her. You're 100% my corner. You've got me. I've got you, which means that I just assumed that the two of you were good. Okay. I didn't know that there was this rift there.
Yeah.
But for her to just kind of go out on her own and, slack off, throw the challenge, slow walk it, whatever you want to call it, in order to put you in jeopardy, unbeknownst to me, because I couldn't believe that was happening. Like, okay, on the rowing challenge, they didn't show it. The Gladiators one. Me and her wanted to kill each other because we both wanted to do the same thing in a different way, and she's a very difficult person to have words with. But in this one, it was the same thing. And I remember there was a couple times when we're navigating this Y-beam through the trees, and I see the most obvious, clear path of the direction we should go, and she starts arguing with me about why we should go this other way that makes absolutely no sense. And it was just, I just thought in the moment, I'm like, this is her and I having two different strategies, her not wanting to listen to me and us fighting. But it turned out to be much deeper and much more sinister than that. And God, dude, as much as it's like, I want to stick up for her and I want to have her back in this situation, I'm like, yo, you might have benefited your game, or you think you might have benefited your game, but you really fucked mine up. And that was like how I kind of felt. Now, I didn't find out about it. She told me about it after the elimination, basically after you had gone home, the morning after. And I was not happy. I was not happy. I was really disappointed. And, just seeing you go was just a bad break for you and for the show. And obviously for me, so that's how I feel. That's how I feel. It's like, I understand the move, right? But what I'm saying is, if you're working with people, you also need to factor in their game as well. Like, it would be the same had she been, say, working with Jordan, which we know she is. And then, Jordan's on our team. He nominates himself. And then I intentionally throw a challenge without telling her to get him sent in and sent home, and it's like,
well, I will say, just like that challenge as a whole, us navigating it, they really didn't have good footage of you and I on the sides, which I wish they would have, because we had like the hardest roll, which was how many times did we run into a tree? Like, I really did have quite a migraine after, because of how many times I slammed into trees and just like full effort, full send, like body sacrifice, flipping over those steps, like just so many things.
We're lucky somebody didn't get seriously injured on that.
I know, it's wild. So it was just so interesting, because we very much could have won. And it was so, I knew at first she was like full effort. You could hear her energy. She's a competitor. But then the second round, when we were as close as we were to winning, and to feel that drop and that weight, I mean, that beam was so heavy. It was like, what is happening? What is happening? And it just was like this gut sinking feeling, because you just know. But then also it's like, that was smart on her part in so many ways, and I can't even be mad about it, because
for her game,
it 100%
was really, for her game.
Yeah, it just sucks. It just so sucks, because even, like, there's a part on the episode, this is like some behind the scenes, where they start to show Devin and Nehemiah talk to each other. And I didn't know anything about that conversation, which was so strange. Like, there was no consulting with Nehemiah, but that's a different story. That's fine. But then they cut to me, and they make it look as if it's Tori and I talking. And I'm like, I have a green pull-up band kind of stretching on a chair. That's actually Laurel and I talking. And we've,
Wow.
so it's so weird. It's like just to have like, Laurel and how wonderful she can be. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it just felt a little too soon because we are competitors at our core. And it felt as if there was so much other shit, whether it was jealousy or fear that you had to choose between her and I, or Jordan and my relationship with Jordan, whatever it was that was threatening her. It just came out so fast, and it just felt a little too soon. But of course, that was like her opportunity to do it in a way that she could, So I can't even blame her. I just think in my head, everything was good until I walked into the sand and saw that the elimination was like 2 separate boards. I was like, oh, this is just going to be who gets to be here by the challenge gods, And that was,
what do you think? And you kind of touched on it momentarily there, but what do you think it was, the two of you coming into the house? I mean, I think since Cutthroat, we'd never done a season. Have you done a season with her since? Like, where do you think the divide is there? Because the way I see you both individually as like such incredible, strong women. And I just didn't understand necessarily, other than the fact that she didn't like the smell of your Palo Santo. I didn't know where like this, where this divide or this or this, the differences you guys had came from. Where do you think that is?
Well, I guess you kind of said it. Like, if someone doesn't like the smell of sage or Palo Santo, that's like a problem. Like nobody doesn't like that smell. Like, and it's so for me. So let me just do some astrology really fast.
Okay.
I am a Capricorn sun, an Aries rising, and a Cancer moon. Laurel is a Cancer rising, an Aries sun, and a Capricorn moon. So I've never been so similar to someone, even though it's very different placements. We have such similarities in how we care, how we love animals, and how we care for people. And there's just like a lot of things that are very similar to. So for me, I always see that as growth, right? If someone's this similar to me, I want to learn and I want to be around that person. I want to compete with them. I want to engage with them. To her, because there is some deep-seated insecurities in whatever way, it turns into like, get this away from me as fast as possible. And so it was fine until Darrell chose her as target over me, because that was really his options as far as like, first target has to be called, Darrell's on the spotlight. Who are you going to pick? He can't pick Aviv because that's his only storyline / connection of winning with Aviv. So he has an option of me or Laurel. And I knew he wasn't going to call me. I just knew it. I love Darrell, and we had enough conversation in the past that I just knew there was no way. And so for him to call Laurel, that's when it all shifted. It was like, oh, she is now immediately a threat to my game. People are choosing her over me. And it was just a complete change. And I remember trying to have conversation with her. That's when she started to get kind of, she said what she said about the weird massage thing. And
did
kind of
that
like
factor in then to your decision to volunteer at all then? Because you, in a way, almost, did you feel like that would kind of like neutralize the situation? It's like, oh, I see the way that she sees this. She's going to be targeted over me. So if I volunteer myself now, it'll look like I'm not as big of a threat.
I don't think I did factor that, and I wish I did. I think I was just like, it's time for me to go. That's smart, and I wish I would have thought that way. But no, I don't think I saw her. She had nothing to do with me volunteering. Like, I just was in the moment, like, I am ready to fucking go do something. Because at this point, we had only eaten caterpillars and done trivia. Like, I'm starting to get a little bored. Like, I want something more engaging. Yeah, you did. I supported you. So why did they not show that? I know you're so upset about it. I know.
Emily, I just want to remind everyone, I am in fact on this season of the challenge. Okay. I'm there. You wouldn't know it by watching the episodes, but I promise you I am there. I'm very much there.
I think it's a really interesting how, gosh, there's so much I could say. The only thing that I thought was kind of strange too is I already had seen what she was doing. So there was a point where she tried to come to me and make me jealous of you. There was like this weird divide that I could see her kind of working this game so she just was already in this, she was seeing it from a very good game player perspective of when we get to the end, who is going to choose Emily over Laurel. And that's where she just was like, nope. So she tried so hard. I remember she said stuff. I'm not even going to go into it, but I was like, that's just Johnny. And then I like run off like a fairy, and she was like expecting me to get upset or whatever it is. It's just like an interesting dynamic. So I knew something was there. I just didn't want to engage in it because we see what happens when Laurel engages with someone who engages back. It's a Laurel thing, which is like victim, rescuer, perpetrator. I fuck that triangle. I'm not even going to put myself in even close to this. This is so exhausting. Like we all know how stupid it is. It's just like this again. We're doing this again. So I didn't want to engage in it. And then I also feel like we had this moment right before this challenge that we competed in where I was a target. It was so clear that she was going to do something even before we got to the site because I asked to have a conversation with her and she wanted nothing to do with it. And she blew me off and it was very like, I don't have time to talk to you. And I was like, oh, shit's going to go down. Like, I just know it. She's already kind of putting up that wall. And then there was this praying mantis that landed where I used to put flowers because I would give all these, flowers. I swear to God, this like. Okay.
I love where you find signs. I love how you navigate everywhere. Through the game. I know, that's what I'm saying. I love where you see the signs.
Okay, so I would leave flowers out on different places because Vietnam, as you know, it has been through some shit. So I always try to like burn incense and put flowers and just try to release bad energy. And in place of the flower was a giant praying mantis. And it was so big. And that's one of my biggest omens that comes. Like a praying mantis will show up on the best day of my life. And I was like, oh shit. And it looked at Laurel like it did this head tilt when I was like, oh, I know she's going to throw it. I just know it. I just know that this is going to happen.
Praying mantis told you.
It did. And, I can't even be mad. I think I'm just a little bit bummed because I don't think I'm going to do a show again. Like for me, this is like.
You better.
I don't think so, Johnny.
Yes,
I think this
you
is
will.
it.
No, it's not. I will not allow it to be it. Okay? Because here's the thing about the challenges. Like, Emily, you can't say that you went on and you made every single decision. Like, you can't say there was a little bit of that you had to knock some rust off. Okay? You can't say that wasn't there. So it's like sometimes you got to come back. You got to get your feet wet again. You got to get ready you got to reintroduce yourself to that game speed again and the gamesmanship and the way the game is played. Not get distracted with, big bearded liver king type guys. Keep your head in the game. And then, it's a different scenario.
No. That was not a distraction. Let's not say that was a distraction. Let's say that was like, that was helpful to like get through some of this stuff.
Yes.
But I also understand what you're saying.
Release a little tension.
You just know how I am not great at conflict.
Okay, you're not great at conflict though. I actually love the way you handle conflict sometimes because because when you aren't fucking with somebody and when you like are not in the mood for a person's BS, you let them know it. And I absolutely love that about you. Here's the thing about you. You don't pretend. You don't waste energy pretending to be cool people, pretending to be nice to people. If you don't like somebody, it's totally apparent.
It's obvious. Yes.
It's obvious. And I love that about you. Before we get into because you kind of touched on a little bit, the Laurel and Cara situation, I guess just kind of like what else is all the other extemporary things that are taking place in the house, mainly what's going on Era 3. You nominate yourself, right? Josh said he was going to nominate himself. Then, because CT nominates himself, Josh decides not to nominate himself. And then there's this big, hoopla on Era 3 because, they have this vacation alliance, which now apparently there's some holes in it. Like, what's your take on this, on the, I guess, Devin, Tori, Josh, Jordan, that whole situation? Like, what was your read on that group?
Well, it's interesting because as we walk into the house, the energy is like, there's no way I want to engage with 3 and 4. Like, that just is how it felt. It just felt too young and unpredictable and like too scripted, I guess is the best way to explain it. it's just a really interesting dynamic when you are coming in so prepared and you know so much and you are a super fan. I don't trust that. It's like people with implants. It gives me a second to be like, whoa. It's interesting because had Josh nominated himself, I wouldn't have gone in. That's what's crazy is Josh totally was on my side. He was totally on my side. So Kylan was he's the snaky one, you know. He just wants the TV time and he's going to play the game like he's strategizing. But we knew where he was with that, and it sucked that I had to go in. I just didn't like that at all. Like this deliberation where I have to like talk to Era 4. I should have just right then been like, throw me in. But I knew I had to try to play strategy. I just really wish Josh would have volunteered because it would have been a totally different experience.
Because they would have been thrown in instead. So you're saying the reason they didn't go in is because Devin was the target and not Josh.
The reason Olivia and Kylan chose to stick with Devin and Tori was because of this alliance that is building. I had no argument. And then I also feel like Nehemiah didn't really help the argument by trying to like communicate that Devin had been playing multiple games, because at that point, all of us are, because we don't know what's going to go down. We need a lot of doors open. So I kind of respect that with Devin, you know, like you have to know that if you plan too soon in advance, you're going to make things messy for yourself.
But he does that. Here's the thing about Devin. Okay. This is what I find so funny about Devin's deals. Okay. He always has, and he'll argue till the day he dies, he always has expiration dates on his deals. And they're always very convoluted. Devin's deal is just like something where you need a lawyer to go through and like read the fine print, because he'll always leave himself some sort of an out. So it's almost like making a deal with him is pointless, because once he doesn't follow through with it, he'll always have a reason as to why. And well, we discussed this was never part of the deal. So that's why when I was watching him have this conversation with Nehemiah, here's what I found funny about it. He sat there and kind of left Nehemiah on the fence. Like, listen, man, I don't want to lead you the wrong way. I don't want to bullshit you, but I have to talk to Tori. I can't unilaterally agree to this deal. I have to talk to Tori first. Right. Which then left this deal kind of like in limbo. Then he never talks to Tori until you guys are at the deliberation table, because you almost wanted to leave it open to see like, oh, if this pans out and I need to come through on this deal with Nehemiah, then I'll approach him and I will agree to it when I need to. But since it didn't work out for him, and since it was convenient in the chamber to then say, no, we never had a deal, it was just kind of like it left him that wiggle room that he needed in order to take it if it was good for him, or leave it if it wasn't, and it ended up not being. I just love how Devin tried to loop you into that, and you shut him down like immediately. He's like,
was I there?
Nehemiah and Emily were trying to make deals with me, and you were like, whoa. I was not there for that. That had nothing to do with it.
I tried to call Devin out in this deliberation, me being like, I'm just here to get to the final. I'm here to partner with the people. I don't have a lot of people in my corner at this point. I have you, you're my number one. And that, outside of that, I don't actually know where I stand with some of these people. So, okay, let me start to engage with Era 4. And that's kind of hard. That was hard for me to do because I didn't want to engage with Era 4, but I didn't really have an option as far as state your case. And here we are. So, okay, let me try this. But then it was just so interesting because I said this. I was like, Devin, you were on the trivia rope line. You know this. You're making deals just as much as Jordan's making deals. So he's an opportunistic, smart player.
Yes.
And I really didn't have a chance.
And like I said, he leaves so many things unanswered, right? And then he's got expiration dates. Yeah. This one's expiring this day. Let's renew our deal that just expired. I'm like, that's just never how I've played. The way I play is I don't make deals until I absolutely have to. And then whatever deal I make, I'm like, I'm going to see this thing through. There's obviously people that I am friends with and that I fuck with and that I'm going to have their backs. But these are people that I'm going to stick with the entire season. It's not like, hey, we're cool. We're good friends. Let's make a deal that expires and then let's renew it. It's like him and I just come from two different ways of playing. And I think the way that he plays, it's like he leaves himself, and again, you could call it strategic, but he leaves himself outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he can never hang his hat on being somebody that plays a trustworthy, honest game, because he'll always find an out. He'll always find a way to, even if it's blatantly obvious that he didn't follow through on a deal, he'll have a way to explain it away. And usually it works.
Yeah. Which is a trade-off, right? Like you have to make that choice as a player, which one you're willing to play, and he's okay with it. He owns it. And then it just at some point, catches up, and that's all you can I don't know, wait for.
So post-chamber, or maybe this before chamber, I forgot how the episode plays out, but the big overarching, this is the storyline pretty much of the season, the Laurel and Cara soap opera. But I wasn't there for it. I would think I was in an interview. I came back after they'd already been separated. So I didn't know. I just got everyone's rendition, and it seemed like everybody kind of had the same take on what happened, which is Laurel's a monster. Cara did nothing wrong. However, okay, and again, I know there's a lot of Cara stands out there that she can do absolutely nothing wrong, but I've maintained from the beginning that in this relationship, it really is a little sister, big sister dynamic. It's antagonist, okay, who is going to pick, and then till to the point where Laurel blows up, and then it's like, oh my God, how are you behaving this way? And again, Jordan and I talked about it. It's like when your little younger sibling like picks and pokes at you until you turn around and you smack them, and then they start crying and they run to your mom. Then you're the one that gets in trouble, right? Now, here's my read on it, and then obviously I want your take on it because you were there, you had conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a carryover effect between Laurel and Michelle from Ride or Dies. I was there for this whole thing. I think Michelle and Jay saw Laurel and Jack as the weaker team, not because of Laurel, but because of Jack. And they continued to throw Laurel and Jack in, even though Jack and Jay had a relationship. So Laurel's the type of person where if you do her dirty, you do her wrong, she's never going to forgive you. So I think she was still harboring resentment towards Michelle from that decision on Ride or Dies, which now fast forward to this season. I think Michelle, who is a very strategic, I think her and Devin have played very similar games. I think she was looking for ways to try and create alliances, mend fences. I think she saw Laurel as a very, obviously huge roadblock to her game. How can I make this better? And Laurel straight up tells her, I'm good. Okay. Don't want to be friends with you. Still don't trust me because of what happens with Ride or Dies. We can be cordial, but we're not going to be friends. End of story. Cara then chooses this moment to conveniently walk into the room and kind of interject herself into a conversation and a spat or dispute, whatever you want to call it, that she played no part in, right? I think the way that she saw it was, okay, Laurel and Michelle are going at it. This is my opportunity to be the one that's like, oh, Michelle, if Laurel doesn't want you, here, come to my side. Okay. And I just thought that was kind of like out of place. Like it wasn't like Cara was in the room. She entered and she basically, ingratiated herself into this confrontation. Yeah, then fast forward again, they're at the water cooler. Laurel's making a sandwich. Cara then comes down again. And I think, did Laurel react bad? And did she, come at her and lay absolutely go scorched earth on her? Absolutely. But again, I felt like Cara antagonized her and picked and poked at her until she blew up. And then once she blew up, once again, it was like, oh my God, how can you be doing this? And I don't think either one of them reacted perfectly in that situation, but I do think that the blame can be spread pretty equally.
Well, I will say I loved the opportunity to give karma points because I was able to make sure, it was just one line, but it's true. Everyone has a part to play, right? So I don't like that it's one person is good, one person is bad. I agree with that. They both are engaging in this in a way that they're both responsible for. What I do see though, that you might not see, because I know that, and I do this too, like sometimes justifying bad behavior becomes easy when we throw it into the challenge context. I have seen, and I could have very easily become another one of these victims as far as what Laurel can do with mind games. The mind games that she plays at a very deep level that might not happen with her and men, but it does happen with her and women. And it's a very interesting interplay because if she had a healthy relationship with females in her life, or if she didn't feel threatened by every single person and see herself as less than or competitive with somebody, this wouldn't be an issue. But there's a dynamic that's happening where you'll see it, like they're playing pickleball and everything's fine. And she's like opening up the door to Cara to have a friendship. She did the same with Michelle. She starts to open up herself to have a friendship or to show Michelle that she's being kind. They made out together. I don't know if they're going to show this. So there's very clear, energy of like, okay, cool, we can be friends. And of course you want to have good friends in your life in this house. So it's like based on what Laurel's feeling or based on the weather or the moon sign, it can very easily become a shutoff. And that is so jarring to somebody who's sensitive. So let's say Cara is quite sensitive. She thinks that she's going to have a friendship with Laurel. She wants to have that friendship, and then it gets shut down. She just feels like it's a constant push-pull. So what you're talking about is it's a victim, rescuer, perpetrator triangle. And I think the only thing I'll say is that because Cara saw Michelle starting to get into the trap of it, she was like, no, I want to make sure somebody is here for you. Like which is so ironic because Laurel was the one that Cara was, right? She was the one that Cara is trying to be for Michelle. Laurel was for Cara. So it's just interesting because to me, it's, it bothers me at a very core level because what it is it's the fact that when a woman really wants strong men in their corner, but they have no desire to be around strong women and they actually want to eliminate them, it's not just smart gameplay. That's a deeper issue, right? And that's what was happening. It's like we could say it's the challenge and it's for the show, but it's not. It feels very personal. And so I would just say that it's a deep-rooted thing that I hope that can get worked out, and I just don't want to engage in it at all. But I will also say to see them, there's a moment where you actually see me come into the kitchen because my elimination round was that night, and they act like I didn't know I was going in, but we knew we were going in. They already told us we were going in. So I am trying to prepare for this elimination. I come around to the kitchen and I am just a part of one screaming match interaction. Like I saw it and I was like, oh shit. It sounds so wild, but it's just who I am. That energy was so intense. It went straight to my back and I felt it. And I actually had to spend 2 hours in the room trying to get this pain off my body. It was like actual pain that I was freaked out about because I'm about to go into an elimination. So it's like this energy that comes out it's so toxic and it's so bad that what I just want is us to all stop justifying it for the name of the game because it's just not okay. Like we shouldn't be that intense of, and the only other thought is that as soon as Laurel knew I was going in, she wanted to make it up to Michelle because she knew that Michelle was actually going to be long-term better for her game. So it's just like this weird way of seeing people as chess pawns and not as people that I just can't wrap my head around. I'm just I love people. I love being real with people. And I just want to play this in a way that's going to be as close to fair as possible, knowing that there's variables with the challenge. And I just don't feel like that's what Laurel also has. And Cara does have that. I think Cara's like, fine, I'll play. Let's go. I know Cara plays a part in this. I know that she engages with it because she's trying to prove a point, which is, of course, just going to perpetuate this whole thing. But it's a really toxic example of like females that support strong females or females that don't. And to me, that's all I need to know about someone. And once that bridge is done, like it's going to take a while to get that back. And I just wish everyone who plays that way the best, but I don't want to engage in it at all.
So in real life, if this was outside, if this was in a corporate structure, if this was in any sort of other athletic, world, right? I would totally agree, but you have to realize that's what this show is. This show is in large part not treating people like people, but treating them like chess pieces. And for all of, I feel like, you know, the drawbacks that Laurel may have when it comes to her ability to connect with certain people, her ability to show emotion, her ability, like you said, to look at people as chess pieces and not human beings, I guess, is what makes her such a dangerous competitor, because she never makes decisions based on emotion. She only makes decisions based on what is strategically best for her game. And it does not matter who she bulldozes in the process, including me. So again, that's, and you know, it's almost like there are certain people, like, I mean, Olympians, just people who are at the top of their game. A lot of times they are just wired differently than normal human beings because they have the ability to remove emotion from the equation. This isn't excusing behavior. This isn't saying this is right or wrong. My point is, when it comes to the challenge, when it comes to this show, sometimes you have to be able to remove that. And it's not a you know, nice, happy-go-lucky, kumbaya type environment. It's cutthroat as fuck.
I get it. I think this is what I'll say. I don't like the analogy of you comparing that to an Olympic athlete, because that's not the case, right? Those are two very different mentalities, because I feel like I have that mentality as an athlete. Like, I can, you know, focus in on what is needed. That makes me speak to the fact that the challenge is a little bit of a shit show. We saw this with the Horacio Derek dynamic. We're seeing this with my own elimination, with these boards that were very different. And, you know, this idea that it's not fair. If we're going to say that in one way, we have to also say, okay, it's not fair that my own teammate threw me in. Like, I'm never going to do that, because this is the challenge. It's a crapshoot. I just wish the fans would push enough support for like a very athletically geared challenge. Like, I do think that in and of itself would be entertaining enough. It would trump the drama. Like, I do, as the optimist I am, of like wanting people to be their best. Laurel continuing this pattern is not in her best interest for her life, for her real life, right? We know it's not healthy, and yet she's getting rewarded for continuing it. And so it's just an interesting thing.
I wouldn't call it rewarded. I've never, I mean, I've been in this game a long time. Trust me, I haven't seen backlash this bad. And again, say you bring it on yourself, say you don't. I would not say what she's dealt with from All Stars and into this season, I would not call that a reward. I mean, she's facing the fire. She's getting it. Like, it's not like this is all being, you know, gone unnoticed.
I get that. But some people, and I don't know if this is her, but some people see fire as great. Like, they don't, it doesn't matter. It's publicity. It's a callback, you know? So whatever it is, it's like, it's justifying a reaction, which she thrives on. She loves when the reaction happens. So it's just an interesting thing, because I see Laurel the person. I see her beautiful heart that loves animals. I see her beautiful ability to connect. You see it too, you know? So there's just so much beauty, and it's hard to see how fast it turns into something so ugly and toxic so quickly. And I know it's just the challenge house, but like, does it have to be? And can we create a new story around this? I think so. Like, everyone needs to just do horse therapy. Like, come to my challenge retreat and let me just have you touch horses, and it will heal some shit.
Cows. Guys, touch some horses, cut some balls off, man. It'll heal up.
And this is an interesting fact about horses. They don't actually have the part in their brain that has respect. So, you know, this whole concept of like, she doesn't respect me because she's throwing me in. So at first it's like, damn, you don't respect me as a competitor because like I was here to compete, Laurel.
And but that's like, no, you're just a horse.
That's not even a part of the conversation. What it is the way horses operate is with trust. And so, of course, there's no trust being built with Laura and I. We haven't seen each other in how long? She wasn't excited to see me on the show. She made that very clear. We were cordial, but there was definitely a dynamic of you are, at the end of the day, competition. And she let's not forget, she helped me with the first challenge, this boat challenge, right? How fast she finished that and then comes back and did half my puzzle. Like, fuck it. I could still be on the puzzle if I'm being honest, right? Like, we know there was some brushing off to do. I just hate it because I do feel, even though I haven't done a lot, I still believe I'm one of the best challengers to show
You
up.
are.
And I really didn't feel like I got to show that, but that's okay. That's just my ego dying. And I'm just going to be okay with my ego
It's
dying.
not
Just
your
like these
ego.
balls getting
It's
cut off the
not your
cows.
ego dying, Emily. It's just your ego. And this happens to us all. It's just your ego being reminded of like what this is. I mean, you've been out of this world for such a long time. And so much
It's different.
changes,
It's
and the
very different.
relationships changes, the speed of the game changes, the dynamics, the way you play. I mean, the way that the game was played just the dynamics in the house and how you have to navigate your way through and how you have to move has changed so much. So you're coming in this world and this universe that you've created for yourself. And then you're taking yourself out of this, very zen, very, spiritual, harmonious world, putting yourself in an absolutely chaotic, insane asylum. And you're trying to like make the two, you're trying to intertwine the two. And it's just a very difficult thing to do. And like I said, I think, now that you're able to kind of take a step back, you're able to really like adjust. It's hard to do on the fly. It's hard to, in the house, in the moment, make these big adjustments. But once you have some time away and you can do like a post-mortem and you can break it all down, I think that, maybe you'll have a different understanding. Which brings us to your elimination. I'm not going to sit here and say that maybe one board was different than the other, but the only explanation I have, this is the only explanation I have. When they were setting up the two boards,
yeah,
maybe the guy's hammer broke when he went to Tina's board. Maybe they ran out of material to hammer it into, so hers was styrofoam, yours was wood. Because there is no way on earth that you're going to be able to take a hammer and slide it down and knock out 800 nails with that type of ease. When we saw you and CT and Nehemiah all trying to use the same technique and it not work. I was absolutely dumbfounded. When she first did it, I'm like, oh, I get it. They were going to go up there. This is part of the game. You got to like pull them out one by one. But when then I saw you, because I was yelling at you, I was like, dude, replicate what she just did. Slide it down. And when I saw you try and do it.
I know. I heard you.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't even know.
Well, here's where I've come to peace with it, because I need to, we go through these situations. Some people don't find peace ever, right? That's not me. I'm going to find peace as fast as possible of why this happened so that I can move on. Because was I disappointed? Yes. Was I expecting to make it to the final? Absolutely. Like this was why I came back. Like I trained so hard. So it's interesting because it's like, wow, that was like such a crapshoot and really like very low budget elimination. Mm-hmm. And in general, it's just like, okay, one, I give it to Tina for even thinking of an innovative way. I go straight to work, right? One at a time. So she's already, in a way, that's her winning. She was more innovative than I was. But the fact that all of our boards didn't do what she did, we saw this with Derek's board. Like there's just some things you can't control. Everything is different. Do I think that I want to take this win from her? No. But do I think that it was a fair representation of like who's actually... Now, what does it mean to deserve to be in the challenge, right? So long story, I have come to peace with the fact that Tina is part Vietnamese and she has ancestors that pushed all the nails out so that she could stay longer.
Oh my God, that's something that I never factored in. I was going to say I thought a praying mantis flew down and helped her pull all the nails out.
Oh, so in human design, you're a manifesting generator, I'm a generator. Tina is the only manifester in the house. So manifestors actually do have the ability to really, like, you have some of it. She's the one who can be like, I want this. And then she can make it happen if she speaks it out loud. So I also think it was kind of karma because I knew that about her and I didn't tell her because I didn't want her to be like, I'm a manifestor, I'm going to win this challenge because I knew it would happen. So I think that it worked out. Was I bummed? Yes. Did I try her way? Yes. Did it look a little janky? the fact that she could do it and I couldn't, it was strange. I almost caught up, even doing the way that I was doing. I stayed, you can see how close I got, but I also was just like, damn, it was just a sinking feeling to like, I don't even think I said bye to you. I was so disappointed. I was just so bummed.
Disappointed. I'm looking around being like, oh God, here we go again.
I know. But it was okay. Again. I instantly was like, well, I'm going to Cambodia. And I was so glad I got to go to Cambodia. And I got to become Tomb Raider and just so many fun adventures. It all happens for a reason. And I just feel like I loved what the challenge activates in me, right? It really activates competitiveness. If it's done in the right way, if it's channeled in the right way, can be the most healing energy because you get to push yourself, you challenge yourself. So it really has inspired this 700-acre retreat obstacle course challenge that I'm going to put on that you are going to come to if you meditate with me. So it's just perfect.
What doesn't challenge you doesn't change you, Emily. So you're going to be on the 700-acre ranch. We're going to do challenges. We're going to do meditation. We're going to do eliminations. And we're going to maybe castrate some cows.
Well, we'll definitely do horseback riding because that's what I'm training them for. So they'll be ready to be ridden by the time April. So April's the 1st and then September. But it's just going to be amazing because
perfect. I've been working on my reverse cowgirl technique. So implement that. How about that?
Perfect. You can ride Cookie then.
All right. Perfect. Who's Cookie?
She's so beautiful. Just wait till you see her. She looks like Xena Warrior Princess horse version. Like
we're talking about a horse.
Yeah, it's a horse.
That was a friend of yours. All right. Well, thanks for getting my hopes up. All right, Emily. So for anyone out there who wants to be able to take part in this amazing collaboration you've created with growers and farmers, Peel, where do they find you? If they want to take the bird quiz, how do they do that? And if they want to find you on social media, also, how do they do that?
Oh, yeah. So really, this, I've been selling magnesium for a long time because magnesium helps with stress and sleep and soreness. But the reason I have to sell magnesium is because our soil is so shit. Farming is not okay. So we really need to understand how to change the way things are grown, where our food comes from. So, of course, step 1, get on magnesium if you haven't yet, because it really changes your sleep. So I sell that on my website. But I also really want you to care about farming. So if I know it's like maybe this is a brand new world to you, but at some point you're going to care because food is everything. Think about where our food comes from. We don't even know. So if we can actually understand that, we can change a lot of things. So that's joinpeel.com. And I would love if you guys could come support the mission, and you can buy a bandana. You can also look at emilyschromm.com. Gosh, what else, Johnny? Meathead Hippie Podcast. If you like podcasts, I have a Meathead Hippie Podcast. I'm going to interview your mom on Peel.
Okay.
But really,
Mama B?
True. Mama B, yes. I'm just so excited because if we actually do understand our food and follow this little orange peel, we're going to change the world. I'm just so stoked about this. So this is all hands on deck, full effort. I'm really grateful for it. And then if you want to join the retreat, because I didn't win the challenge and I need to make money to bring this to life, I would love for you to support by coming to the challenge retreat, which is going to be 2 times next year. I would love to bring Johnny. If you came, that'd be so great. But we're going to do our own version of the challenge without the drama and with meditation.
I'll be there. So it's not okay. So we're basically just creating something because meditation and no drama. We're doing a meditation and no drama challenge.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
Love it. Can't wait. All right. Well, Emily, it's always fun chopping it up. I am so glad. I mean, we covered a very wide-ranging list of topics today.
Starting with this. That was so fun. Are you going to go be still?
I wish. Be still. I got to go pick up a suit. I'm going to the Dance with the Stars premiere tonight because I'm going to be in the trader section. Then I got to hop on a red eye back to Florida. So, no.
Johnny, that is the exact opposite of what your cards were.
I know, dude.
How would you, if I sent you a meditation, would you do it?
Probably when I have like 5 seconds to sit down.
Okay, I will only send it if you do it and it's going to be 5 minutes. That's it.
Perfect. I think I got 5 minutes. All right.
Okay, I got you.
Love you, Emily, and thank you.
I love you so much.
Thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm Oprah, and I love you.
Caca.